how would you describe your expectations for how you think Devin Brown will play in the Cotton Bowl?
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are 1 day away from the Buckeyes' final game in the 2023 campaign. It's in the Cotton Bowl, and also it's their debut of a new QB1. Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Thursday edition of Locked On Buckeyes here on Thursday, December 28th in the year 2023. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Think about the first time you did anything, athletic, your career, or any level of life. Think about the first time you did anything. Let's say first job. Got your first job. Okay, cool. And then you leveled it up, got a different job, got your first job in your current career. You have milestones and things hit different as you progress in life. Devin Brown got that Buckeye jersey. Oh, man, that hit different. Oh, man, played his first game. That hit a little bit different. Then, oh, man, he's going to start tomorrow in the Cotton Bowl. That's going to hit different, too. And everybody has expectations for how this young man should play the football. To me, they're not so much, hey, you need to go out there and throw for 300 plus, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. I'm not expecting that from him. But it's more so what I thought about Cardinal Jones back in the 2014 Big Ten Championship game. Just do what the coach is asking you to do. Now, you may want to say, Jay, why in the world are you going back that far? That's almost 10 years. Yes, that was a magical season, a magical run at the end of the year, which led to winning the Natty. But why in the world are you comparing these two quarterbacks? Now, Cardinal Jones was a third-string quarterback going into the season. All year long, he was truly the backup quarterback due to the injury to Braxton Miller. So you may want to say in season, they are the same. But think about this. I don't think anybody going into that game, Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis, Indiana, when Cardinal Jones was now the starting quarterback because JT Barrett got hurt the week before, I don't think anybody was saying, hey, man, you need to go out there and throw for 400 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns for Ohio State to say, hey, you did your job. I don't think anybody was saying that. I sure wasn't. I was at the game, and I'm not sitting up here saying, oh, I knew he was going to do it. He did. I knew he had this arm. I knew he was going to have all these amazing feats. I was not saying that. But the one thing that was on my mind when it came to Cardinal Jones was, hey, don't get outside of yourself. Trust your coach, trust your teammate, and trust your talent. And that was what happened. He trusted Urban. He trusted Devin Smith. And he trusted his talent. The rest is history. Not perfect. He was not a perfect quarterback in that game or throughout the rest of the other 2 games that he started in that year, the win over Alabama or the win in the Natty over Oregon. He wasn't perfect, but he trusted those things. So expectations for Devin Brown are more like what I mentioned earlier. Hey, it's your first game as a starter. Now, I understand it's a really good opponent in Missouri, a really good football team. Easily the second best team Ohio State has played this year. And some may say it's the best quarterback in Brady Cook that Ohio State's going to play this year. So there's a lot of talent on the other sideline. So I get all of that. But when you have a new quarterback as a starter on this stage, you can't come out here and expect him to do no 300 plus, 3 passing touchdowns or 2 rushing touchdowns and say, hey, just go, you got to do all this stuff. No, absolutely not. But literally in my notepad, and I did this before starting the show, I was like, hey, and I kind of mentioned them about Cardinal Jones. What did Cardinal Jones need to do? Trust Urban, trust his teammates, and trust his talent. Now, Urban's not on the sidelines coaching Ohio State, I'm sure, and I do believe. I think I read in an email that he is covering the Cotton Bowl for the Big Ten Network, so it wouldn't shock me if at any point in time, pregame, in the middle of the game or post-game, you see Urban on the sideline there just watching and observing the game. I wouldn't shock me at all. But you got to trust Ryan Day. Ryan Day's putting you in this area, in this spotlight. One, of course, it's because that there's a quarterback that left at Kyle McCord. But 2, Ryan Day recruits quarterbacks and recruits at this level for moments like this. Think about also at the wide receiver position. Abuka's playing. What else do you have? Marvin Harrison Jr. not practicing once again on the second day of open practice to the media. So, like I said yesterday, if you don't practice, you're not playing. I don't need an official announcement for me to be able to sit out here and say, hey, there's a good chance he's not playing. Why? Because he's not practicing right now. So you got no Marvin Harrison Jr. You got no Julian Fleming. So what's next? Emeka Egbuka is your number 1 receiver. Do you play Cardinal Tate and Brandon Ennis? Do you play Xavier Johnson and Cardinal Tate? Or do you play Johnson and Tate and Egbuka? And then do you throw in Ennis and Kojo Antwi or Jayden Ballard? Or do you play 5 or 6 receivers because you're losing 2 of your top 3 throughout the season? I don't know, but you recruit that room for this moment. It's the same thing for the quarterback position. You recruit them the same way. At any given time, you might lose a guy to the portal due to injury or whatever. So you have to trust in your recruiting process, in your player development process, that at any given time, yes, there will be a drop-off in talent, or probably will be. If there's not a drop-off in talent, then maybe you had the wrong guy playing all year long. Not saying what I think is going to happen tomorrow with Devin Brown, but realistically, there's a thought by some that Devin Brown, if he goes out there and balls out tomorrow, that it's a sign that maybe Ryan Day made the wrong decision. I have said it once. I'll say it again. 1 game is not a big enough sample size for me to come out here post-game, live after the end of the Cotton Bowl, or even next week and say Ryan Day made the wrong decision with the quarterback position. Why? Because I have seen, and we have all seen, how Ryan Day coaches when he gets a month off to prepare. I'm not saying it's a different version of Ryan Day, or maybe it's the full, real Ryan Day. Think about it. A month going into that Clemson game in 2019, I know it's a sour spot in our fandom, but hear me out. What did we find? Ryan Day, that scripted play, the first script of 12 to 15 plays to open the game, marching right down the field. What happened? The Buckeyes couldn't finish drives. Numerous times throughout that game, you go down, field goal. You go down, field goal. You go down, field goal. If you finish drives, the Buckeyes win that game. Even with Sean Wade hitting Trevor Lawrence and the other things, the what was it? The non-fumble, the fumble that wasn't called a fumble. There were so many things. I forgot about that. But there are things that happen in those moments. Hey, Ryan Day coach is phenomenal when he has a month off. What do we find the very next year against Clemson? A month off going into that game? Ryan Day was on fire. 2021, that Rose Bowl. Now, that year was really, really odd because the talent and development was just not the Buckeyes' way. But he found something with Stroud and Njigba and even Harrison Jr. propelled them to a victory against Utah, a really good Utah football team. Very next year, last year, a month off going to that game against Georgia. What do you find? Ryan Day's coaching like a madman. And even going into this year, I'm sitting here saying, it would be great if Ryan Day coached like that the entire time. It's not realistic, but it would be great if he did. So I'm sure Ryan Day is going to have an amazing game plan. He looked cool and relaxed during practice over the past couple of days, and I'm sure that's going to come through in how he coaches tomorrow against Missouri in the Cotton Bowl. Devin Brown, don't get outside of yourself. Expectations for him, just do your job. That's it. Trust your coach, Ryan Day. Trust your teammates. They're talented. Trust your talent. That's why you're at Ohio State. And then we'll see exactly what happens tomorrow as Devin Brown leads the Buckeyes offense in the Cotton Bowl. He'll be leading the Buckeyes offense with a familiar RB1 in the backfield for Ohio State, but RB2 will be new. We'll dive into the Buckeyes RB depth next on Locked on Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's a place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With zone deals, you pick the section and Gametime picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find the tickets in the same section in row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, found only at the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Running back depth for second year in a row, maybe third year in a row, is a topic of conversation. At this point in time, it's not the same reasons why it has been for the bulk of the 2022 and 2023 campaigns. Right now, what do you find with the RB room? For one, there is news and great news for Buckeye fans. TreVeyon Henderson is going to play in the Cotton Bowl. That is huge, which goes into the running back depth conversation we're going to have. No Mayan Williams declared for the NFL draft. No Chip Trayanum. I believe he has, I'm going to get this correct, he has transferred to Kentucky. No Evan Pryor either. He has transferred to Cincinnati. So 3 of your top 5 guys in the RB room are gone. You got one guy in TreVeyon Henderson who is going to play this game, which is great news for the Buckeyes. But then you got Dallan Hayden. And after that, I know TC Coffee is there. I know the 3-star running back, in-state Ohio State kid, name escapes me. He is there. But you don't really, there's no experience after that. Well, there's experience. TC Coffee got a rushing touchdown a year ago against Wisconsin. I want to say Saunders' last name also had a touchdown that game a year ago. And so there's a lot of things going on with its RB room. A lot of it's guys leaving, not playing. But when I think about the RB depth, I am actually comfortable, very comfortable with the 1-2 punch of TreVeyon Henderson and Dallan Hayden. And I think you should too. I think there's a realistic opportunity for Dallan Hayden to play tomorrow, as he will play, because Ryan Day's not going to rely on one running back. And he's going to show everybody. Once again, I don't get much playing time throughout the season. But when you put me out there on the field, I always produce. There's questions about ball security. He ain't fumbled a ball since he's been in a Buckeye uniform on a Saturday or in any game that he has played. Questions about pass protection. Okay, I really haven't seen those with my eyes consistently when he's on the field. So, y'all know last year and even into this year, I'm a big Mayan Williams guy. Not the total package as a running back, but I'm a big Mayan Williams guy. I'm also a big Dallan Hayden fan. And I think over the next couple years, he will be a phenomenal back at Ohio State. I don't believe he's going to, let's say he blows up next year, I don't think it's good enough to go to the NFL. I mean, it could be, but hey, stay 2 more years, do your thing, go to the league, make your millions. But to have TreVeyon Henderson there is great. I don't know how much of it how successful he's going to be against this really good Missouri defensive front. But if you throw Henderson out there, who is more of a big play threat, more of an explosive guy, not the best runner between the tackles. He's gotten better. Don't get me wrong. He has gotten better this year when he was healthy, but not the most consistent runner between the tackles. You got Dallan Hayden that can do that very, 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 very well. Buddy, that 1-2 punch, it's going to be fun to watch. I hope it's fun to watch tomorrow. Now, the interesting thing about this unit, outside of those 2 guys, you're relying on a walk-on running back or other running backs that don't really have much playing time at Ohio State. So what do you find? At some point, Xavier Johnson is going to be another running back there in the room. He's with the receivers most of the time, but trust me, not saying I got to talk to Tony Alford or Ryan Day or Brian Hartline to really realize how Xavier Johnson is going to be utilized tomorrow. I guarantee I expect him to play in the backfield a little bit, just as far as a change of pace, maybe open things up. He's a threat in the passing game and in the run game. Trust me, it's a defensive coordinator's nightmare to have that kind of guy on the other side that you're trying to scheme up and trying to figure out how to stop. But there's one thought, and I'm not trying to really throw a blanket over somebody and just cover up their excitement. Don't normally use that phrase, but hey, it worked right there. I might use it again. Not having Mitch Rossi or Chip Trainum, a heavier back that could be more of a lead back or full back out there on the field in this game could be critical. I'm not saying it will be. Yes, at times Ohio State has played Patrick Gurd, number 49, later in the season in that role, but that's not really in their bag of tricks for this season. And this is the kind of game you would love to have. Mitch Rossi from previously, unfortunately, Chip Trainum from previously, but also from this year on the roster and able to be utilized in a game like this. Trust me. Xavier Henderson, what would he love? A lead blocker. Dalton Hayden, what would he love? A lead blocker. And not somebody a lead blocker as a receiver who's out there in the open space. Oh, he can turn into a lead blocker or a pulling guard around. Oh, he's a lead blocker. Imagine, let's get more a little specific. Imagine you have backside guard and tackle pulling. You got Donovan Jackson and Simmons pulling from left to right. And then behind them, which you really wouldn't need it, but let's just say they had it. Let's just say you had Chip Trainum right there as well. Not really the ideal thing, but that would be great. But let's just realize this. Let's say you have backside guard Donovan Jackson pulling left to right. And then you have an H-back there that kind of delays. That's there as well. So he is blocking the guy on the outside that normally would say that backside guard comes and gets. But no. He is going to turn around and be a lead blocker because the end guy on the line may be a D end or an LB or a walked up safety, whatever it is. The guy on the end who's outside, kind of offsetting on the line of the tight end in Cade Stover, man, that it would be a huge advantage to have tomorrow. Trust me, I'm excited about this backfield, the 1-2 punch RB duo of Dalton Hayden and Xavier Henderson. We're going to see how the Buckeyes plan on utilizing those two guys tomorrow. I will say this and then get up out of here with this thought. I really, 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 really hope Ryan Day does not try to just say, hey, you're the bell cow back, Xavier Henderson. We're going to allow you to have all the carries, 20 plus, and let's say Hayden gets 2 and Xavier Johnson gets 3. That's not the formula for success I believe Ohio State needs to have tomorrow. Also, keep this in mind. I know I said one thought, but another one popped into my head that goes with this conversation. Ryan Day planned, he said it during the season, he planned to, and he plans currently, to redshirt Dalton Hayden. I did see out there was a report, and it's true. If Dalton Hayden plays in this game, it will not burn his red shirt. So keep that in mind. There are guys out there that Ohio State planned to redshirt this year, so they limited their playing time during the season. Okay, cool. Great. I understand it. This game, the bowl game, does not hinder that goal from being accomplished, which is why I have gone out there so far and saying, hey, not just 1-2 punch and saying one guy's going to get 20, the other guy's going to get 5, but 1-2 punch, I think Henderson will have more carries, but I don't think Hayden's carries and touches will be that far off and below the amount that Henderson gets in tomorrow's game. Also, the Buckeyes will need both guys to be successful if the Buckeyes want to beat Missouri tomorrow in the Cotton Bowl. Coming up next, we'll dive into a Buckeye player who was a freshman that I touched on a little bit yesterday, but we'll dive into more about what tomorrow could be for freshman receiver Cardinal Tates. This episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 simply if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Those of you that are everydayers, remember we touched on the betting line and the favorite to win the Cotton Bowl yesterday. It went from 2.5 when McCord was on the team. He transfers, it goes to 6.5, minus 6.5 Missouri. A day ago, it was Buckeyes minus 1.5. Today it's back to the original line of minus 2.5. Put your money where your mouth is if you want to make some money. Also, the over-under is still at 48.5. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Tomorrow, at the conclusion of the Cotton Bowl, there will be the final live post-game show of the 2023 Buckeyes campaign on the YouTube page. Go there, subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes on YouTube. Hit that bell so you are notified when the show goes live. We will instantly react together to the Buckeyes' performance in the Cotton Bowl, and hopefully it's another Buckeyes win. 2021 was one of those years you knew there would be no Chris Olave, you knew there would be no Garrett Wilson, so you knew that Njigba, who had a phenomenal 2021 campaign, was going to be thrust into the limelight once again. And what did he do? He showed up, showed out. I think he had 300-plus receiving yards, 16 receptions. I mean, he had Rose Bowl and bowl game records. He just tore up that Utah defense. But another guy who was out there in that game, and Marvin Harrison Jr., it's kind of his coming out party. Now you ain't able to say Jay. Whoa, we all know that Harrison name and the first name too. Daddy's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. We all know that. That's great. That's cool. That doesn't mean his son, his offspring, is going to be the same caliber of player. Said it once, I'll say it again, and I'll touch on that later in this segment. So some are saying this could be Cardinal Tate's coming out party. I'm not going to say this is definitely going to be that, but he could have a big game, a phenomenal game, doing his role by simply just being out there on the field more than he has throughout this season. Think about this when I say this. Do I think this is a great stage for Cardinal Tate's coming out party? Absolutely. Do I think Cardinal Tate is the type of player that is capable of having a coming out party on this stage? Absolutely. I don't think my thoughts here are so much about Cardinal Tate. My thoughts here are about that QB1 that is unproven, and we know nothing about how he's going to play the football tomorrow. Trust me, if you give me CJ Stroud, Justin Fields, who is not the caliber of thrower that CJ Stroud was, if you even give me JT Barrett, I would say, hey, we know what these guys can do. We know what kind of arms they got. Barrett was not the best thrower of the football. Even in the moment, I was not respecting JT Barrett and how he played football. I was not. But what do I do now? Numerous years removed from when he played the football in the shoe, what do we have? A greater respect from yours truly about JT Barrett when he was Ohio State's QB1. So Cardinal Tate in this moment, I do believe is going to be one of those guys that Devin Brown might need to, I won't say lean on or rely on, but maybe target a couple more times than you would the average freshman receiver. Because, hey, Denzel Burke said he's been him. And I don't think Denzel Burke would say that just about any old receiver. I don't think Denzel Burke would be here in front of the media on Buckeyes Defensive Media Day and just come out here and start throwing out statements saying, oh, he's been him. Oh, that dude, he really ain't been all that. I mean, he's there just because of attrition and the depth and the player development not really being a focus in that area. I don't think he would just come out here and saying, oh, this dude bad, this dude trash. I don't think he would come out here and say that. I really don't. Which is why when he says he's been him, it sticks out a little bit more, not only because of who he's talking about, but two, who the message is coming from. Now, remember when I made a comment earlier about, hey, I know who Marvin Harrison Jr.'s dad is, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Indianapolis Colt, great wide receiver. I know who his dad is. I watched his dad play football when I was a youngster. Loved having number 88 on the sideline on the outside, catching the balls from Peyton Manning. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I also realize that just because who your dad is or who your mom is doesn't always mean you're going to be a phenomenal football player, a phenomenal athlete. Think about this. Something I did not know, Jermaine O'Neal, another guy who was a phenomenal basketball or a guy who was a phenomenal athlete in Indiana, played for the Pacers. His daughter is on the Texas Longhorn volleyball team, had a chance to play for the Olympics. I didn't know that. Just because he has a daughter that's tall doesn't mean she's automatically going to be a phenomenal athlete. I didn't know that. And I go back to this kind of illustration or thought, and I don't know why I always go to this guy. I do know why. Michael Jordan. Did you know Michael Jordan's two kids played basketball in college? Did you know that Michael Jordan's kids are, not saying they're not so much the caliber of athlete Michael Jordan was, but they really weren't that good basketball players. I mean, I saw them play when they were in high school. We didn't go live, watched it on TV when they played Eric Gordon in high school. And I'm like, whoa. Y'all Michael Jordan's boys? That's not really what I would think and expect from his kids. That's not really it. So Michael Jordan's kids weren't really all that. There are other athletes out there whose kids really aren't all that. So you just can't come out here and say, oh, just because of who your dad is, that makes me know and believe the kind of athlete and football player you are going to be. Or it doesn't mean anything. Marvin Harrison Jr. is not the same body type as his dad. Does different things than what his dad did on the football field. I will go out on a limb and say his body control is better than his dad's. Now his hands. I mean, his dad had mitts, man. It's almost like he had stick 'em on his hands every time he was out there on the football field. Hey, the ball goes up in his area. Snag. I mean, it's just what really was happening out there on the football field. So no, I'm not trying to say this should have been expected from Marvin Harrison Jr. just because of who his dad is. No, I always push back on that thought. And really, I think there's a lot of bad analysis when that is the focus of someone saying, we know who it was going to be because his dad's in the Hall of Fame. Push back on that every time somebody says it. But this could be. Just like in 2021, Marvin Harrison Jr. showed everybody what he could do on the biggest stage, the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Hey, doesn't really get much better in a New Year's Six Bowl than the Cotton Bowl Classic down there in Dallas, Texas. Only thing I would change about this is not Cardinal Tates playing in this game. I would have pushed that the entire time, all season. You know I've been doing it here on the show. Just play this game down in the Cotton Bowl Stadium. I mean, it's not that far away. I know the suite situation is different in Jerry's World, and I understand Jerry's World is massive. Been there. Good place, big place. That TV screen up there, hey, it's crystal clear, and it is huge. So trust me, I understand why it's there at AT&T Stadium versus the Cotton Bowl Classic, but I'm old school. I heard Joe Klatt say, hey, I wish they still played the Orange Bowl in the old, worn-down Orange Bowl Stadium, and I'm sitting here saying I wish they still played. Now, the Orange Bowl Stadium is not even in use anymore. The Cotton Bowl Stadium is. Move the Cotton Bowl Classic back to the Cotton Bowl. It makes a lot of sense. What also makes a lot of sense is that we're so close. Oh, so close in the Buckeyes' appearance in the Cotton Bowl tomorrow. I am excited. I'm sure you are excited. We can all come together tomorrow at the conclusion of the Cotton Bowl Classic for a live post-game show on the YouTube page. Subscribe to the Locked On Buckeyes YouTube page and hit that bell so you are notified when that show goes live. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. You don't want to miss the good stuff that's coming with this channel. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. This has been Locked On Buckeyes here on a Thursday. One more show before the Cotton Bowl Classic is played. We'll see you next time.